Okay, so normally I wouldn't do a video like this. This is a very special occasion. So for me right now it is July 11th, and it's about to be 3:30 p.m. And it has been, I think, over 170, maybe 180 days since my last day of school. It's been a long, long time since I have been to school, and I don't have to go to school anymore. I graduated already. Um, so from now on, I will make a few videos where I talk about my school. But instead of talking about what happened today, I'm going to do these recaps. And today I'm going to just recap pretty much all of the most interesting people I've met in my school life. Now, I'm from Hong Kong, so the education system is a little different. So ever since 7th grade, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are all considered secondary school, and they're forms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of the people that I'm about to mention later are all the people that I met in forms 1 to 6. Uh, let's go! So to start off easy, we have Cedric, who is still my best friend. I have been friends with him since 2015, February, and even though we had argued many, many times and he had betrayed me a few times, I still consider him as a really, really good friend. I mean, yes, in comparison to other people that I have encountered in my school life, he is one of the more normal ones, but what I can say is that he is a very determined person. He can do crazy things for his friend. He would spend a large amount of money to buy me gifts or buy his friend gifts, and he would waste a lot of time walking all the way from one point in the city to another point in the city just to meet a friend. He would take an extra step to become someone's friend, which is also, in my opinion, one of his bigger flaws, is that he is very dependent, especially during forms 1 to 4. He always depends on someone, but ever since form 4, he left. He left my school and went all the way to another continent to study, and ever since then, he had become so much more of an independent person, and yeah, I really appreciate that. Again, he is one of the most normal person I have encountered in my school life. Even though he had done terrible things, because again, he is a dependent person. Sometimes he would think, yeah, I should probably betray this person because I think this other person can help me even more. And even though I don't blame him, it has caused a certain amount of chaos. But yeah, the real chaos is about to begin with Natalie. Up next, we have Natalie. Now the craziness begins. So, Natalie is also one of my oldest friends. And yeah, we have had a really, really, really rough relationship because Natalie is not your average girl. To put it in simple words, she's crazy. She's kind of crazy. But see, yes, she is crazy, but when you compare her to the rest of my school, she is not that crazy, though she is still very, very crazy in normal standards. I mean, first of all, she came from a very broken family. I don't, again, there are a lot of secrets, and I do want to keep them, and I respect her privacy a lot, but let's just say her mother is a depressed alcoholic. Her father is a totalitarian, abusive father, and her sister is also kind of problematic. And she is also kind of problematic herself as well. I mean, back in elementary school, she would be, I guess, bullied according to her. Maybe she had been sexually harassed or assaulted a couple times, and she had had a really rough childhood. And also, I don't know if this is related or not, but she grew up in a house where a murder took place. A murder and a suicide took place. So I guess this had somehow affected her as well. So the person she grew up to be is a messed up person. She is kind of crazy. You can describe her as a yandere, but I think she's more of a yandere tsundere, sort of a mix between the both. And she, again, I don't know if this is true, but in I guess forms 1 and 2, I think she has symptoms of bipolar disorder. And she's also a masochist. She likes getting hurt. She likes the feeling of being bullied psychologically and physically. And she's kind of crazy. But she's also very smart as well. She's very good at speaking. She's very good at winning the teacher's trust. And she became the chairperson of a student union. She became the chairperson of this club and vice chairperson of that club. She's very, very successful, and she's very prideful about that. And again, me and her, we are friends, but we had a lot of arguments in the years. So it's been a very rough friendship, not gonna lie. She's also very, very like open-minded sexually. Also, I forgot to mention that Natalie is 37.5% Hong Konger, 50% a country from Southeast Asia, and 12.5% Peruvian. Also, Natalie likes drinking blood. And musicals. She likes musicals. Up next, we have Jordana, who is probably equally as problematic as Natalie, but in a totally different way. So again, I met Jordana ever since Form 1, and she seems like a very hard-working, serious person, but actually she's so much more than that. Both Natalie and Jordana share the same delusion, dare I say it, and that is in Forms 1 and 2. Both Natalie and Jordana also worship a certain imaginary god. The imaginary god that Natalie worships is the kind of god that whispers to her ears at night and can read other people's minds, so Natalie can use those information to, I guess, attack people, even though she can't really do that. And then we have Jordana's god, who is also, I don't know if God would be the right word, because it's very much like an entity. But it's this person who shows up in her dream every single night. And it's not inspired by a person in real life or anything. It's totally imaginary. Yet Jordana sees her every night in her dreams. The person, the guy, wears a white polo shirt and a short blue jeans. And he also has special powers and abilities. But also what's going on for Jordana is that she is basically a psychopath in the making. She was very apathetic, very cold-blooded, and she said she wanted to become emotionless when she grew up. And also, one time Jordana told me that every time she smiles or laughs are fake. She's faking all of it, even though I doubt that she's telling the truth. And also, Jordana told me that she has 3 layers of personality. So layer 1 is her normal self, the mask. Layer 2 is the very cold-blooded, emotionless her. And layer 3, well, I don't know, because according to Jordana, only her and her god know what is her third personality. No one else knows. Over the years, she had become more and more shallow of a person, less and less complicated, more and more surface level. It appears that he had regained her innocence again for some reason. I don't know how did that happen. She's still a little crazy, but she became more and more hateable of a person, and I kind of understand why. To quote Jordana, one time in Form 2, when I and Jordana had an argument, Jordana said, strong people live, weak people die. If you want to gain respect, if you want to gain my respect, become a strong person. Otherwise, why don't you just die? next we have Leo, a friend that I have met in Form 3. And Leo, he is probably the smartest person I have ever encountered in my entire life. I mean, his IQ is really high. I think over 130. I know it's not the highest in the world, but still, he is so smart. Also a little autistic, but he is a bit of a miracle because usually people can't overcome their, I guess, problems, mental problems alone. But for some reason, and I don't think Leo was severely autistic. Maybe he's on the spectrum, but back in Forms 1 to 2, he has autistic symptoms. He's very antisocial. He doesn't speak much simply because he doesn't know how to communicate. But at the same time, he's very smart because in elementary school, he had skipped an entire grade. And he also has all sorts of quirks back in the days, like he would have a handkerchief and he would rub his nose constantly. He would constantly blink his eyes like this and go like this. He still does that a little bit nowadays, but ever since Form 4, after he got himself a girlfriend, he had become so much more social of a person and likable as well. Still extremely smart, unfairly smart. One of the, again, just top of the class, straight A's. Yeah, Leo. Shout out to Leo. Which then moves over to Leo's girlfriend, Pink, who is pretty much as problematic as Natalie, but I guess less crazy though. So Pink is a very small, short girl, and she seems very weak and vulnerable. During her elementary school years, she had been, again, I feel like I'm in the wrong for saying all this, but let's just say she had been sexually assaulted like a few times by different people in different locations, and still, till this day, I don't understand why would people want to do that. Strangers, okay? Strangers are sexually assaulting her for no good reason. I don't understand why, but because of this, it kind of messed her up. And at one point, I think she tried to resist, but given how small of a person she was, and she is, she was actually bullied, like, physically one time in elementary school. And she had become another really suicidal person like Natalie. She went to the hospital, to the emergency room multiple times because she's losing too much blood out of cutting her own wrists. And up until Form 5, I think, she was still, like, cutting her own wrists. And I've advised against that. And I don't think she does it nowadays. So that's a really cool thing. I mean, not only does she do it here, but she does it on the top side as well. And so, you know, whenever somebody cuts their own wrists, they would also try to kind of hide it. Some people would wear a wristband, some people would wear a watch, and she would wear a white watch. So that's a little thing. But actually, Pink is extremely nice. She loves animals. She owns 2 very cute dogs, and they are extremely cute. What can I say? And yeah, her passion for animals is very admirable. One time there's this grasshopper, and everyone's like, "Oh, kill it, ah, scary!" And she just carried the grasshopper on her arm and set it free. And it's just really nice of her. And still, till this day, she is a very nice person, and she's a really good person. This leads me to her ex-boyfriend, Tyrus, who isn't as problematic of a person, but is still kinda problematic. He doesn't have a rough childhood, I think, but I'm not sure. But back when he was dating Pink, he also had his fair share of mental problems, and also physical problems. One of his bodily functions failed because of the amount of stress he was facing when he was dating Pink. which is ridiculous, but it's true. But at the same time, Tyrus is also extremely smart, because A, he speaks with a British accent, so that automatically makes him smarter, and B, he loves astronomy. He loves planets, galaxies, nebulas, black holes, and he's one hell of a smart dude. And for a while, me and him had beef, because he had been very, very mean to me for a while. But lately he had been kind of nice to me. I guess it's because back then when he was dating Pink, he was in just a lot of stress, and he just, didn't feel the need to be polite to other people. But I guess he's in a better place now, so yeah. Okay, up next we have Tyrus's best friend ever, Idris. And Idris, I think he's also kinda on the autism spectrum, but I may be wrong, but he has his little quirks as well. Back in Forms 1 to 3, he had the heart of glass. He cries so easily. You insult him a little bit and he's gonna cry. He's gonna tear up. But at the same time, he's very smart. Idris is a master at playing Rubik's Cube, and he had joined multiple national, dare I say, international Rubik's Cube competitions, and he is the Rubik's Cube god of our school. So yeah, shout out to him as well. Again, at one point, he and I were not on good terms, but he's pretty nice to me now. And he and I, and Tyrus and I, we all share a same belief that Natalie is yeah. Up next, let's talk about Linda. Linda is a girl and is someone that I've known since Form 1. She is not smart at all, but she is strong. She is very freaking strong, and she's a very good fighter. She had won multiple awards, like Kung Fu awards. We are Hong Kongers, and Westerners would think, oh, Hong Kongers, everybody in Hong Kong knows Kung Fu, right? Wrong. If someone fights me with Kung Fu, I'm gonna die, okay? But that is not the case for Linda. She's actually good at Kung Fu. Like, I think she won 5 gold medals before Form 1. I don't know if she had won even more than that, but yeah, 5 gold medals. That's not bad. She's actually good at fighting people. And she's also very violent. She gets angry very, very easily. The boys are all very afraid of her. And she's very fit. She's also very pretty. And she has a very, very loyal boyfriend. She and her boyfriend have been dating for well over 3 years now. The longest running couple in our school. And they are the cutest couple ever. Linda's also a bit of a tragic character because Linda used to be friends with Jordana, and little did Linda or anyone knew Jordana was using her. Because Linda's strong and Linda likes to protect her friends, Jordana kind of used Linda for her own advantage because Jordana knew that Linda would do anything to protect her. That's why when I and Jordana had a disagreement, Linda, she was harsh. She was harsh. Speaking of which, let's talk about Jeffrey. He is the definition of work hard, play hard. He is an extreme person. He is hardcore and he loves power. He's absolutely power hungry. He would do anything to climb up the ladder of power. He's basically Frank Underwood. And he's also very athletic. Because he plays hard, obviously. And yeah, Jeffrey. He grew up in a pretty poor environment where some of his family members are criminals. They work in criminal gangs, and this had brought him quite a bit of pain as well, I guess. And Jeffrey is also, again, a very extreme person. When he was a kid, he was playing around with like dogs, and even though the dog was very aggressive and monstrous, he still wanted to play with the dog, and he ended up getting bitten by the dog in the leg, and he went to the hospital because of it. He's quite hardcore, not gonna lie. And yeah, to quote him, one day he told me that there's no thing called a good person or a bad person in this world. There is only the difference between a smart person and a dumb person. So you know what kind of person Jeffrey is. He is a schemer. He knows how to control people, manipulate people for his own advantage, and he's yeah, there's that. And this brings me to Keith. Keith is basically Jeffrey, but 12 times more evil. Again, Keith is very calculated. He is the definition of a sociopath, and he loves smashing girls, controlling people, and beating up people. Keith. Here's what's very scary about Keith is that he's actually a very small, weak boy, very nerdy. He looks very innocent. He looks very nice, cute little glasses, jokes around, always puts a smile on his face, but little does everyone know he is a fucking sociopath, okay? You have no idea the things he would do to hurt others. He is insane, all caps. So he is a bit of I won't say polygamous, but he's probably on his 7th girlfriend or something, and he would get really young girlfriends, and it would be very illegal, and he would do very strange sexual things to those people. He's a bit of a sadist, in my opinion, but more importantly, he is a bit of a really Machiavellianist. He loves to control people. He even tries to control the teachers, sort of manipulating the teachers so that he can control entire groups of people. And he would demand people to do things for him. Like one time when he and Jordana are in a relationship, Keith would demand Jordana to supply her own blood, which, given how crazy she was, she did. And also, Keith did some questionable things to Natalie, which Natalie enjoyed. Keith, at some point, was also in a slight bit of a relationship with Bernese, who is also one of the earliest friends I've ever known since Form 1, but a huge argument happened, and me and Bernese were in this state of war for 4 months, and then afterwards we basically didn't speak much to one another. Bernese is a normal person, but what she also is paranoid. She is a very, very paranoid person, and she gets jealous really, really easily, which means if Bernese is in love with one person, like Cedric, any other girl who speaks to Cedric automatically becomes Bernese's enemy, and Bernese would try her very, very best to eliminate her enemy. While Bernese isn't a very smart or cunning person or a very evil person, Bernese is still very paranoid, gets jealous really easily, and very unstable emotionally as well. Also suicidal. I mean, at this point, Natalie suicidal, Cedric was kind of suicidal at some point, Pink's extremely suicidal, Tyrus was suicidal, Bernese was a little suicidal at some point, and I'm going to mention a lot of people later on who is also kind of crazy and suicidal. But, I mean, come on. I mean, we are a bunch of Gen Zers. If we're not suicidal, it's kind of strange, right? But yeah, anyways, Bernese is kind. She's really kind. Being a fool that I was in Form 1, and Bernese actually accepting how foolish I was, I actually really appreciate her. I mean, Bernese gave me a birthday gift in 2015, and I'm still keeping it because it was really nice of her, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, I hope I can speak to her one last time